Welcome back to the KJ from OC podcast. I'm your host, KJ from OC, and this is the wrestling version. You're welcome. No, really. You're welcome. So I haven't done a wrestling show in God knows what, like a year or two. I think since AJ Styles and Survivor Series, and God, that was a couple years ago. Man, but I've been thinking about doing these more weekly and actually reviewing Raw and SmackDown and NXT and 205 Live, blah, 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 blah. Especially maybe right before pay-per-views or network specials, that's what they call them now. So maybe that's just what I'll do from now on, is I will do these shows right before a network special and then do a review as well right after of the shows. So, yeah, you guys ready? Oh, wait, I gotta tell you where to find me. Right here on YouTube, KJ from OC Podcast, as well as Facebook, KJ from OC Podcast, and also Twitter, KJ from OC, and Instagram, KJ from OC, on there as well. I don't do Snapchat because I am an adult. Yes, I just judged you. You ready? Let's talk about it. First topic. Dean Ambrose is back. He has been gone since, like, the Royal Rumble or before. Man, he's been out for a while. I guess he had, like, a torn rotator cuff or some kind of shoulder injury or something like that. And, he kind of had, like, that scraggly look before where he was, he got, the hair's kind of coming down over his face a little bit and kind of just looked like he was always either really sweaty or just got out of the shower. That was his look. Kind of a skinny dude too. Not anymore. This dude came back looking like he's been pumping iron for a while. And I mean, being gone 7-8 months, something like that, that's long enough time to really change your body, especially if you're a professional athlete, which these guys obviously are. Yes, they're actors, etc., but it takes a lot of actual work to maintain the physical appearances these guys have. I mean, look at Drew Galloway, or Drew McIntyre, if you're going to call him by his WWE name. When he left WWE, he was one of the three-man band, and he was just a skinny dude. A couple years later, he is just freaking ripped and looks great, and is now back on the main roster after being NXT champion, losing to what was his name? Andrade Cien Almas. So, just looking at these things, I'm like, yeah, these guys really go through body changes a lot. Ambrose is looking more muscular. He's not Drew McIntyre ripped. He's not Jinder Mahal ripped, but he definitely is packing on some muscle. For sure. You can definitely see the difference. He has shaved his head. He came out to save Seth Rollins from an attack from Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler. Seth came out, and I know I'm going to talk about Raw later, but Seth came out and said, before I signed that contract, because, he was supposed to be having travel issues all throughout the show, and he says, yeah, sorry I'm late. I've been having travel issues, but not my travel issues. And the crowd just lights up, and they start to pop a little bit because they kind of know what's coming. I think we knew Ambrose was coming back at some point soon, and of course prior to SummerSlam or at SummerSlam is a great time to do that, because it gets more people to watch, or at least to be interested in what's going on, because Ziggler and Rollins are going to have a good, great match anyway, because they're two of the best workers WWE has. So I could watch that shit all day. Literally, it's like Sting versus Muta. As far as I'm concerned, you're going to see athleticism. You're going to see good in-ring storytelling. So I'm down for that. So as he says, it's other, someone else's travel issues I've been having, and etc. And he was talking about having someone in, Drew McIntyre being in Dolph Ziggler's corner. And he's like, I got to have somebody in my corner. And I think that then the crowd really pops, because it's like, okay, cool, we know who's coming out. And then you hear and then Dean Ambrose comes out, and he runs it, and he just looks so different. He's got a full-on beard. Like, it is a complete 180 of how this dude looks. He's got a full-on beard. He shaved his head. I mean, he still has hair, but it's like a buzz cut. He dresses the same, pretty much. It's just that he is much more muscular, and but he came in like a House of Fire or whatever they call it, a bat out of hell, and just started whooping up on Drew and Dolph and all that stuff. So it was great. It was great. I really enjoyed watching that. I actually gave Raw a thumbs up on the Solo Monster podcast on his Twitter page. It was great. I really enjoyed it, and I think it'll be cool to see the two of them back. I don't know if they're going to reunite the Shield or something like that. I think it'll be cool. But we'll see what happens. Roman has his match against Brock Lesnar. God, I don't even know if I really want to watch it, but we're going to see what I'm going to do. We're going to see. We'll see. We'll see. So maybe they do like a Shield reunion, and then have Dean turn on both of them. Like, you guys didn't come see me when I was rehabbing. No one called me. You know, maybe he'll do one of those kind of angles and be a badass or something like that. And I don't know. Maybe he'll help Seth win. Maybe he'll help Seth lose. Who knows? I don't know. I think it'd be cool to see the two of them together for a while because we get used to that. And then around this, you know, at some point, I think Drew and Dean need to eventually break off from Ziggler and from Seth and kind of have their own little one-on-ones, you know, maybe around Survivor Series time. That'd actually be kind of cool. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see traditional Survivor Series where you have your rivals against each other. You know, you have the Authors of Pain on one side, you'll have Titus Worldwide on the other side, you'll have Dean and Drew on one side, you'll have Seth and Dolph on the other side. Like, just whatever it is, you know, you can have that kind of thing. I don't necessarily want to see Raw versus SmackDown again, but if I do, maybe the lesser guys or different guys who aren't necessarily fully involved in a big time rivalry or something like that. And I do want to see the women Raw versus SmackDown because they just don't have enough to do, you know, same brand women versus women. As far as I'm concerned, so you only have like 7 or 8. I know you could do a 4-on-4, but it just I want to see the intermingling between the two brands as far as the women are concerned. But yeah, Dean looks great. I think it'll be really cool to have him back, and I'm happy to have him back. And that means the way he looks in WWE 2K19 is going to be interesting, because they might have like 2016 Dean Ambrose versus 2018 Dean Ambrose, you know, the current version. Kind of like how they do Triple H. Like, they have Triple H now, and they have Triple H 01, they have Triple H 99. They have Sting, you know, now, or most recent 2015. Then they have Sting 98, 99, 91, and 88. So maybe they'll do the same thing for Dean Ambrose, which actually helps, I think, sell games more. I think it helps sell merchandising because he came out with a new shirt, something about reliving the Ambrose Asylum or something like that, or Return of the Ambrose Asylum, something to that effect. So that helps sell merchandising, and it also means you're selling toys and appearances and matches and all that kind of stuff. So it's good to kind of revamp your look every once in a while. I mean, it doesn't have to be a complete overhaul like this one kind of was, Jinder Mahal's kind of was. But like when Hulk Hogan went away from the yellow tights for a while, started wearing black, and then eventually was NWO black and white with Hall and Nash, like that was just beautiful, because that is still probably one of the greatest factions of all time. I would say it's probably 2 or 3, because the Horsemen lasted much longer, I think. And then you got DX and you got NWO. And outside of that, I don't know who you got as far as the faction. Maybe Nation of Domination. You got your, I don't even know, the Brood, you know, whoever. But nothing, I think, will ever compare to those 3 factions. I don't even know how the hell I got on that. Oh, on changing looks. I get a little carried away sometimes because I love looking at wrestling and kind of studying wrestling a little bit. So, yeah, good times. Anyway, next topic. So I just watched the Aleister Black footage. So this thing going on in NXT, Aleister Black had a real legit injury, which I think they should do things like this more. When someone has a legitimate injury, you have a story angle that leads them to being off for a while so they can rehab. I think it really helps build stories, and you can just build on that like they used to do, I think, with Dusty Rhodes. I can't remember who else, but people had, Steve Austin. You know, they had him, quote unquote, run over in a car. And he wasn't obviously really run over, but he had to go take care of his neck for a while. So, yeah, there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, with doing that and having the storylines go along with real life in certain situations like this, like with injuries. So Aleister Black has a real legit injury, and they had an angle where they shot something in like the back parking lot of Full Sail, and they had Aleister Black laid out unconscious. They had Heavy Machinery videoing on their phones. They had the two referees, the loud woman referee, come out. You can always hear her talking. It's crazy. Like, over every other referee, I hear her the absolute most. I don't know what her issue is, but it's kind of annoying. But anyway, she was like one of the first ones out there to see what was going on. Another referee came out. William Regal came out. You see Johnny Gargano walk inside the building. You see all wrestlers. You see Tommaso Ciampa walking away. You see all these different people. And it looks like almost everyone's kind of guilty kind of thing. You know, you got Adam Cole and you got the Undisputed Era driving off in a very hurried fashion. You have Lars Sullivan walking off in the distance. You know, like I said, you have Gargano and Ciampa walking off more closely from him. So you just never know who's responsible, quote unquote, for this. I think it would be interesting if it was Candice LeRae who did it and then acted innocent. She did it for her husband, so her husband, Johnny Gargano, could get a one-shot deal at Tommaso Ciampa. I think that would be great. I think it would also be good if it was a way to introduce maybe Matt Riddle, or maybe if Fale and Tama Tonga were signed. That'd be great if they came in and it was them who did it. That would be great. Great way to introduce them. I don't know if they're actually really out of New Japan, but if they were, oh my God. Bullet Club WWE, forget about it. Or maybe some other wrestler that is on the roster and we just didn't see coming. I don't know. I don't know. I hope it's not someone that's like a lesser wrestler, you know. I don't want it to be someone like Kona Reeves or something like that. Like, it's just, no one cares. I think it would be a good way to get Wesley Blake and Steve Cutler and the other guy some airtime, because I've seen photos of them at house shows, but have not seen them on NXT TV just yet, which I really do want to see. I want to see Wesley Blake used to tag team with Buddy Murphy. They were Blake and Murphy when Alexa Bliss was their manager. Boy, she really blossomed since then. She's kind of come into her own. But anyway, yeah, I want to see something. I know NXT does great storylines. They do great stuff. That's why I watch it every week. I never miss. I have not missed in the 2 or 3 years I've been watching. And they do great storylines. I mean, even looking back and knowing that I missed the Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn one, where Kevin Owens had just been signed and it's Sami Zayn's real life best friend. Sami had just beaten like Neville or Tyler Breeze or someone for the title, or Bo Dallas, I forget who it was. And then Kevin Owens comes out and hugs him and they're walking off, and then all of a sudden Kevin clotheslines him and power bombs him, and it was just like, oh my God, that's amazing. Same thing Tommaso Ciampa did with Johnny Gargano after a tag team title loss to the Authors of Pain. They're walking back to the back, and you're like, oh, there's the logo, and there's just, they're signing off, and this is it. And then all of a sudden, Ciampa beats the shit out of him. And you're like, oh, I did not see that coming. I did not see that coming. We kind of saw it when they were in the Cruiserweight Classic the year before, but yeah, you didn't see it coming right then. It was kind of crazy. But anyway, I love the way NXT does their storylines. I want to see more storylines like this, where if there's really legitimate injury, like Sami Zayn, he wrestled at WrestleMania and then was gone. I know he didn't go to the Greatest Royal Rumble because he's, is he Serbian or something like that? And they were in Saudi Arabia, and so there's obviously some issues between two different countries or whatever, so it's like he's not going to be a part of that. So I understood on a real life political level, so you kind of just leave that one alone. You don't need to kind of roll that into real life or whatever, because it's just that's too big. But for stuff like this where you actually have a legitimate injury, Sammy did have a legitimate injury. I think he could have been attacked by someone. You know, they did the angle last year, I think it was, with Enzo and Kaz was pretending to get knocked out all the time by somebody, and or no, Enzo had actually been knocked out by somebody, and then Kaz had actually done it, and then Kaz acted like he had not he had been knocked out too, but really he set it up to make it look like he'd been knocked out or whatever. So it's just, you know, I think they need to utilize this in some kind of creative way overall more often, so that way we actually get to have a reason why the person's gone, instead of hearing about it in the dirt sheets and like, oh, by the way, this person has a torn knee or torn meniscus or this or that or whatever. Like, this, I don't know, let them take some kind of beating or something like that a little bit. before the surgery, because they're going to be getting a surgery anyway. Just my thinking, not trying to say hurt them, but just give us some kind of storyline to keep us interested for when they come back, or to help us speculate when they're going to come back, how they're going to come back, and help further a storyline when it comes back, and you can interconnect things, which I think would be great. What if Brock Lesnar had beaten the shit out of Sami Zayn, and Sami Zayn comes back and helps Roman Reigns win the championship, and then that starts a Roman Reigns-Sami Zayn feud, because Sami's like, you couldn't have done it without me. Something like that. Or maybe Bobby Lashley comes and interferes. I don't know. Something needs to happen where these storylines are actually more, I want to say profitable, or at least more interesting, instead of just like, oh, yeah, he's out. Like, give us something else. Give us something else, because we could use it. We really, really could use it. Next topic. So I liked watching Raw this past week. Like I said, Dean Ambrose came out. You had the Ronda Rousey thing in the very beginning. Ember Moon wrestled Alexa Bliss. Ronda Rousey beat up security and tried to keep her away from Alexa Bliss. It was kind of cool. You got to see the bat come out and fly by Ronda. So weird. Jason Solomonster, said it's confirmed Batman versus Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania 35. It was pretty funny. Yeah, Raw was actually really enjoyable this week. There's a couple throwaway matches. I liked seeing the Revival in the three-way tag against the Hardy and Bray Wyatt, whatever the hell they call their tag team, versus the B team. Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy got pinned. So the B team won, which means the Revival did not get pinned, which gives the Revival, hey, you beat them but didn't beat us, kind of thing. Which I think they should actually have a segment where it actually happens backstage instead of just announcing it. To have a segment, or to have some kind of, network, or not network, but excuse me, like a YouTube release, or Twitter or something like that, where the Revival challenges the B team because they didn't get pinned, and then have like a quick little interview thing from Monday night, because there's only so much content you can throw in. But I think it would be really good if they just would have done that for 45 seconds to a minute, and just be like, hey, you didn't pin us, so we challenge you. I mean, hell, it could have been 20 seconds, super quick, and just be done with it. And they're steaming off mad, and then like an hour later, B team responds, been like, yep, there, it's confirmed, sweet, and then you go from there. And then maybe they get attacked in the back by the Revival, just kind of something to stir it up a little bit, to kind of keep it going, because I really want to see the Revival walk away with the tag team championship at some point. They're such a good team. I really enjoy watching them. Loved watching them against American Alpha. Loved watching them against DIY. That's Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. But I have not enjoyed watching them on the main roster, but also because I think one or both of them got injured at different points. So it was really hard to see a team succeed when they're both injured at different points, and one can't be there for 3 months because his tag team partner's out, and the other one can't be there for 4 months because his tag team partner's out. So it just, finally they're getting back together, and it's good to see that, because I really want to see them walk away with some tag team gold at some point and be a dominant team. They remind me of Arn and Tully. They remind me of the Midnight Express. They remind me of the Freebirds. They remind me of all those heel tag teams from back in the day that do dirty, nasty, tricky tactics. And I think it'd be really cool to see them have a manager, a heel manager. I think WWE could really benefit from using more jobbers and using heel type managers and stuff like that, and even good guy managers too. I don't think there's anything wrong with if Finn Balor had a manager and he was, because he's a good guy or whatever. Braun doesn't need one. Roman doesn't really need one unless he goes heel and goes with Paul Heyman. But it'd be nice to see some kind of changes in that regard as well. So reviewing the rest of Raw, Alexa Bliss wrestled Ember Moon, but before that, Ronda had to go through Alexa Bliss's security to try to fight her and all that kind of stuff. And, she's throwing fake punches kind of the way Shane McMahon does, but I know Ronda Rousey can really throw punches. Yeah, she lost a couple fights in UFC her last couple of years, but let's keep it real. I'm not fighting her, and neither are you, because you're smarter than that, and so am I. Not in agreement. Thank you. So Ember Moon is wrestling Alexa Bliss, and Alicia Fox interferes and stops Ember from winning, and then it becomes a 2-on-2 fricas. I gotta say, Ember looked really good in this. The final couple of moves before she hit the final move before she hit the Oh my God, the Eclipse. She had like this shoulder power bomb thing that she turned into a knee breaker over Alexa Bliss's sternum. It was a really cool looking move, and she went and did the Eclipse, and then as she covers her, Alicia Fox comes in and breaks it up, and then it's a whole frickus thing, and then yeah, but Ember looks good. She doesn't really have the personality that really sells the tickets, but she definitely has the ability. And I think if they give her some kind of character where she's more talkative and she's doing more on the mic, maybe kind of just letting her do her thing. I know she's not really great on the mic, but it is nice to see people kind of just talking like they allow them to do in NXT. AJ and Samoa Joe do it on SmackDown. I've seen Velveteen Dream and EC3 do it. You know, Velveteen's good, EC3 not so much, but it is what it is. So I think if they let Ember kind of have that character, she might be wearing that Raw Women's Championship at some point in the near future. I know they're probably going to give it to Ronda at SummerSlam, early prediction, but I think Ember could eventually get it. I think she could eventually get it, and I wouldn't be mad about it either. I think she's damn good. Corbin beat Tyler Breeze. Kind of a throwaway match. It is what it is. I think Fandango's out for a while, so that's why you're going to be seeing Tyler Breeze, Prince Pretty, so to speak, all by himself in these singles matches, which actually might help his singles career because he was obviously NXT champion prior to his main roster push and prior to being with Fandango and being Febreze, or Breezango as they call it. But yeah, I think this could actually help his singles push. It's not really going to help Corbin. I don't see Corbin being in WWE in the next 3 years, to be honest with you. I think he's not that great of a wrestler. He's not bad. I love the Deep Six move. I don't really love the End of Days, but I love the Deep Six move. It's basically just like a side slam, a 360 or 720 side slam. It's just, that's it. It's not special, but it just looks really cool. Since Baron Corbin is Constable, he gave Finn Balor a match and made Finn Balor go up against Jinder Mahal, and then was, oh, by the way, this is going to be a handicap match, and you have to also wrestle Kevin Owens in a tag team, so it's tag team handicap match. Kurt Angle's like, all right, I can't, stop you from making matches because Stephanie gave you that power. That's a stupid angle. It is what it is. But he's like, I can add to it. And I'm giving Finn Balor a tag team partner, and guess who it is? Braun Strowman. So he comes out and tags with Finn Balor, and they win. Big surprise, right? Right. And so Kevin Owens and Braun Strowman have a match this Sunday at SummerSlam for the Money in the Bank contract, which I believe... I think Kevin Owens is going to walk away with it. I think he's going to do something cheap and dirty. Maybe Sami Zayn will come back and kind of help Kevin Owens. I don't know. And I'd love to see. Oh my God, I would love this if Sami Zayn came back now and he helps Kevin Owens get it. The same thing I said about Dean and Seth and Drew and Dolph. There needs to be a breakup, and then by Survivor Series in the next 3 months, 3.5 almost, I would love to see Sammy on one side with Seth on one side and the same side as Drew or Dolph. Again, yeah, probably Drew. And then against Dean and Dolph and Kevin Owens. And maybe they grab one other person, maybe Balor and I don't know, whoever he's feuding with at some point, or whoever it is, it doesn't matter. But I think it'd be really cool to see that because you get these these people who have real relationships and friendships outside of wrestling to actually kind of go against each other at some point, which I think is a really cool idea. So I should probably become the booker at Raw and SmackDown. You're welcome. Next, Bobby Lashley smashed some guitar-playing jabroni who wanted to be like Elias. Bobby Lashley and Elias have a rivalry that's kind of stupid, and I'm not really digging it. I know Bobby Lashley has had now 3 rivalries since he has been in WWE. He's now wrestling Elias. Just last week or a couple weeks ago, it was Roman Reigns for a month or so, and then before that was Sami Zayn. and that led to like the worst segment, or one of the worst segments ever in WWE history, with the fake women, men dressed as women segment, which was just like, oh god, this is bad. I didn't even watch it, but I heard bad things about it, kind of like the Alexa Bliss This Is Your Life. Yeah, I decided not to watch that either, because what's the point doing that with Bayley? It just, if it's that bad and I hear about it, never watching it. What's the point? Oh, maybe I will one time. We'll see. Anyway, so yeah, then the next match was the triple threat tag team match, like I said, with the B Team, the Revival, and Woken Wyatt. I don't know what they called themselves. The Deleter of Worlds. That's it. God, what a stupid name. It is what it is. You kind of just, whatever. Not every tag team needs a name. It can just be this person and this person. It doesn't need, like, Rocket Ship or whatever. You know what I mean? The Rocket Ship Connection. Like, I liked Strike Force. That was a good name. That was a really good name. I actually really, really like that name. Just a simple logo of the lightning bolt. Pretty simple. I know it's 1980s kind of stuff, but, you know, simple, and it was effective. And it's probably one of the best tag team names I've ever seen, aside from like the Road Warriors, the Blade Runners. Mega Powers was actually kind of cool. The Twin Towers was good. I think if Big Boss Man was actually taller, that name could have worked even better. Hart Foundation was perfect because it was Jimmy Hart, real name. Bret Hart, real name. Jim Neidhart, real name. So it makes it even better. I think that's Jimmy Hart's real name, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, just had to look it up. It's James Ray Hart. So yeah, Jamie Hart, yep, actually works. Whew, thank God. But yeah, so British Bulldogs, like, yeah, these names sometimes are great, but sometimes these names are not that great. The last name that kind of like, Eminem, Melina, Nitro, and Mercury, or Mercury, Nitro, Melina, like whatever, however you want to do it. Eminem. It's kind of funny. The Basham Brothers, Los Guerreros. You know, not every team really needs a name. Those aren't bad names, but you know, at some point, the Golden Truth, it's not a reach really. It's just kind of like a weak attempt at really trying to make something happen. That's just my opinion. But anyway, so like I said before, I already want to see the Revival walk away this weekend with the Tag Team Championship. I think it will be great. I think they're a really good throwback type team. They used to be called the Mechanics when they were in NXT, and then eventually they changed their name, and I love it. I think they are probably the best actual tag team in WWE. I'd actually love, oh my god, this would be amazing, to see the Revival against the Usos. That would be a British Bulldogs Hart Foundation type rivalry as far as I'm concerned. Doesn't need to be a backstory, just needs to be damn good wrestling consistently. I know this is 2018, so the house shows thing, they could do it there. But I think for TV and for pay-per-views and stuff like that, special events, like, I don't think they should have teams that are facing each other or individuals facing each other before a pay-per-view or a network special, facing each other on TV. Unless it ends in like a count-out, disqualification, double DQ, double count-out, draw, something like that. Maybe like one time, and then start to team them up with other people to kind of get other people involved as well. So if you had a Seth and a Dolph match and ended in, you know, disqualification, well, maybe next time you team up Seth with, you know, someone else so he can go up against Dolph and Drew together, so that way it's not you're not always giving away the one-on-one on one match. You know, you just need to leave it alone sometimes and just let people watch it on the network specials, because that's where you can really, I think, get the most out of it. Now, certain things like the gauntlet matches, yeah, that's got to be what it is. That can't really change. But as far as giving away these great matches for free on TV that have no bearing on anything other than trying to push a feud, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. They're not really great matches. They're kind of throwaways sometimes, and that's why I say it'd be great to have a jobber, a local guy, pay him $300-$400, and have him come out and be like, all right, you're going to wrestle Seth Rollins tonight, and that's it. Enjoy. It's a quick, easy $300-$500. Nothing wrong with that. So that way you're not giving away these great matches for free, because it to me, it takes away the luster. It takes away the glitz and the glamour of seeing two guys go against each other for the first time in years or ever. Imagine if you would have given away AJ Styles and John Cena on TV for free. That would have been stupid. Oh my God, they wrestled each other 3 times that I saw. It was Payback, SummerSlam, and Battleground. I think those are the 3. I think that maybe it wasn't Payback. I forget. It was Battleground, it was SummerSlam, and something else. There were 3 things that they wrestled at, and then again at Royal Rumble in 2017, 16. I forget what year it was, but yeah, 2017. So yeah, it was good that you didn't give it away for free, because that's dumb. That's just really dumb. And then of course they had the triple threat against Dean, where Dean and John made AJ submit. So it's you got these major things going on. Don't give them away for free on TV unless it really has some bearing to what's going on. That's just my opinion. This next segment I really loved because it kind of led us into some thinking that we were already having. Paul Heyman last week had an interview with Renee Young where he really kind of said, I've never seen Brock this angry, this violent, this and that, and all this kind of stuff, really selling the whole Brock Lesnar being crazy thing, which works. Paul Heyman is great at what he does. I've been watching him since he was Paulie Dangerously, and I remember, was it him who said Dusty taught him how to sell the show? Taught him how to do a promo, and at the end of a show you sell the next show. That's your job. So if you have a pay-per-view coming up, if you have an event coming up, you got to say something that makes people want to watch it. And so at the end of the interview, where Heyman is literally in tears, and he says something where they cut it off the week before, where you didn't actually see it, but now it led into this week, which I think they actually should have left it on last week. But there was a point where Heyman said something about Brock will win, and then he says, unless. And Renee Young says, what do you mean unless? You were going to say something there. And he says, he takes off his mic and then walks out. So they show it this week, even though I think it was released on YouTube or something like that throughout the week. Later last week, they released it. So people are speculating what unless means. I've already seen a picture of Heyman with Braun Strowman holding the Universal Championship, which could happen. It makes Money in the Bank kind of important still, but then it kind of takes it away from it the rest of the entire year, because Alexa already used hers to cash in, and so we don't have anything else. If Braun crashes his in Sunday, then that's it. There's no more Money in the Bank to be talked about or used again until July of next year. That's 11 months away. So is it possible that he could do that? Sure, he could. People also speculated, which I love that they played this up, that maybe Heyman would side with Roman Reigns and give him some kind of offer and say, hey, if you let me manage you or whatever, I'll give you Brock's weaknesses and this and that and the other thing. And Heyman offered him some kind of paper, and I was like, holy shit, this would be great going into SummerSlam. Like, this is old school WWE drama. Like, this is what's going to make me want to watch this match now, to see what's going to happen with Heyman. And then Heyman sprayed him with something and he couldn't see, and then Brock came out and Brock beat up Roman, and it was just like, you should have kept it. You should have kept, because then I really would tune in if Roman went heel and sided with Paul Heyman. And then maybe later changes his mind. And, this would have been great. Roman sides with Paul Heyman for a little bit, who's actually working with Braun Strowman in the background to study Roman Reigns and show Braun Strowman what Roman Reigns' weaknesses are, so that way Braun Strowman can cash in at a great time. And then Braun can be Heyman's new pet. Because I think Brock is on his way out, because I think he's trying to wrestle Cormier sometime in the fall or in the late winter, early spring. So he won't be able to do that and be Universal Champion, I don't think. but it's possible. Who knows? So it'd be a nice story, basically like a wrestler versus manager kind of thing, and the manager keeps grabbing different people. Like Hogan had his thing with Bobby Heenan, so I think it could happen again. It should happen again. We need storyline drama that actually has drama. I know you have these segments every freaking week, but they actually seem to be getting a little bit better. I can actually start to stomach Raw. It's random where sometimes I'll just like, I'm not watching Raw this week, I'm not watching it next week, but these last couple of times I'm like, I actually kind of enjoyed watching a little bit, especially right before this main event coming up this weekend. So but yeah, so Heyman sprayed him. He couldn't see. Brock came out and beat the shit out of him. And I think they should not have gone that route. They should have gone a different route. Authors of Pain with Mojo Rawley versus Titus Worldwide, which is Apollo Crews and Titus O'Neil with Bobby Roode. Kind of a throwaway 6-man tag match. No one really cared. I don't even remember who won. Oh, wait, Titus Worldwide and Bobby Roode won, as I'm watching highlights right now as we speak. And then Ruby Riott wrestled Sasha Banks. I really like Ruby in the ring. I think she's great. I think if they ever did a women's hardcore championship or Extreme Rules championship, I think it would be great to see Ruby maybe win that and be the hardcore person for it. Because I think she has a good look. She's full of tats, and it's kind of badass, so I'm all for it. Ruby did walk away with the win against Sasha Banks. I really want to see this women's division actually expand. I know they have the Mae Young Classic coming. They brought Caitlyn back, and they've got Io Sherry, something like that. I forget her name. But they've got like a bunch of women. They have the Women's Evolution coming. I want to see an expanded women's roster that is its own show, like a 205 Live. I don't want to necessarily fully remove them from TV as far as Raw and SmackDown. I think they should be able to use their platform for certain matches for Raw and SmackDown, because I think 205 Live should as well. It's the WWE Cruiserweight division, but I don't think it should be specific to one brand or another. I understand you have your Raw champion, your SmackDown champion. You have your Raw tag team champions and your SmackDown tag team champions. You have your U.S. champion in SmackDown. You have your Intercontinental champion in Raw. I understand that, but since the women's, I'd like to see Ronda and Alexa and Alicia and Sasha and Bayley and the Riot Squad and the Iconics, and I'd love to see all of them together on a show weekly. Just an hour. It doesn't need to be 2 hours. NXT has plenty of people. Doesn't need to be, they don't have a 2-hour show. I think the longer your show is, the more often you're going to have injuries. So you got to give people a break a little bit. And I think the women's revolution, so to speak, even looks great if you give them their own spot. Probably going to happen depending on how well Evolution does, the pay-per-view coming out in October. If it does really well, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a woman's show weekly on the WWE Network, and maybe Wednesdays at like 6, right after NXT. NXT comes on at 5 Pacific Standard Time, so I could see maybe they even call the show Evolution instead of NXT or 205 Live. Maybe you call it Evolution Live or something like that. Who knows? Whatever you call it. Or maybe they call it Revolution. Who knows? But you call it something, because I think it would be great to see the women have their own shows, and we could actually see Mandy Rose more often, and Sonya Deville, and Charlotte, and Becky, and Carmella, and Asuka. Like, I haven't seen Asuka in weeks. I don't know where she is. I don't know what she's doing. Hopefully she's not injured. But it would be nice to see these women more often, because I didn't get to see Drew Gulak a lot, but I do now. Lindsay Dorado, Grand Metalik, he was actually my favorite guy in the Cruiserweight Classic a couple years ago. Grand Metalik and Cedric Alexander were my top 2 favorite dudes I loved watching. They just did a great job. And I think they're going to have another one at some point, and I think they should, the same way they have the UK tournament, where maybe the winner gets a shot at the Cruiserweight Championship. And I think whoever does this next Cruiserweight Championship tournament, I would say please include Jordan Devlin, because I'd love to see him in the WWE. because he looks so much like Finn Balor, and I know he's got this whole anti-Finn Balor thing, and I'd love to see, that kind of work its way into 205 Live, and maybe Finn shows up to, kind of mess with Jordan Devlin and be like, "You'll never be me," or something like that. Who knows? But there's always some kind of drama you can add to it. You kind of just recycle old stories, old friends become enemies, things like that. Hogan versus Macho, Andre versus Hogan, like it can always happen. It can always happen, and I'd love to see it happen in the cruiserweights as well as with the women, because they got a bunch of women, I think like 32 or so, that are getting ready for this tournament, and I know there's some results already out there. I don't want to see them because I really want to let this thing breathe the way it's supposed to, as far as me finding out stuff. I don't want to get spoilers at all. I don't want to know who won early and all that kind of stuff. That's what happened with me with the Cruiserweight Classic. I found out who won early, and I ended up not watching the match for months because it was like, oh, well, what's the point? It's not a spoiler per se, but I don't like knowing who won ahead of time because then it kind of ruins it for me. But there's so much wrestling to watch every week, so I just can't do it. But anyway, so if the women get their own show, I'd love it. Maybe around springtime next year or Royal Rumble time next year. I think it'd be a good time to break it out. And, it'd be kind of cool. And I honestly, I'd watch it. I don't really watch 205 Live every week, but I will catch up. I did watch like 3 episodes a couple weeks ago. So if I do miss the women's show, I know I can catch up on it on the network because it would be worth it. I really think it would be great to see, Shayna Baszler come up, and I know Rousey will be where she is. And once again, like I said, if they have like a title match, you can have it on Raw and then have it replayed on the Women's Evolution show that week. Who knows? I don't know. Whatever you want to do, however you want to do it, it would be great. I think it would be great for the women because they deserve it. And then the final segment I know I've already talked about was the contract signing for Dolph versus Seth, with Drew in Dolph's corner and no one in Seth's corner until Ambrose came out. Loved it. I think it's great drama. Dolph talked a little too long for me, but overall, good segment and not a bad show. I mean, really not a bad showing. Love to see Ruby Riott back. I really like Ruby Riott in the ring. Her match against Sonya Deville before they both left NXT, I think it was earlier this year, was great. I think it was absolutely amazing. And it was this year. And I think she needs to be on TV a little bit more and allowed to kind of let her moveset breathe a little bit more than it is now. I would actually like to see an adjustment to the Raw and SmackDown rosters. Not necessarily I want one person here and one person there, but I'd like the ability to have trades or free agents or something like that. I'd like it to look like the NFL per se, where you say, you know what, I'm done with you, you're not doing what you should be doing here, maybe you could do something over in SmackDown, maybe you should go to 205 Live, maybe you should go back to NXT, something like that, where you put him on waivers and then you create a story from there. I think Heath Slater would be great for that because he's so funny. He's super funny and probably doesn't need a writer. He's just going to come out and be funny. So if Kurt Angle was like, Heath, you keep losing matches. If you lose one more match, you got to go. And then maybe he'll go to SmackDown and he'll lose like 3 matches in a row. And then they'll cut him from there. Paige will be like, all right, Heath, you got to go. And then he can't go to 205 Live because he's too big, but then he has to, he'll try to weigh in. He'll show up 1 week and try to weigh in. Be like, you weigh 225. You can't be here. You're too big, And then he'll have to go to NXT. And maybe he'll like win a match against someone random that can actually risk losing a match. Like, I think he could beat like a Lars Sullivan or something like that by accident. Maybe Lars trips and knocks himself out and on the way to the ring or something like that, and then he rolls his fat ass into the ring after like 3 minutes of trying and then pins him. And they could have a rivalry. I think would actually be a really good story. I just made it up in my head just now. So it's interesting. I think you could do that with people because I think that would allow for matches that we haven't seen yet that would be absolutely 4 to 5 star rating matches, or as far as Dave Meltzer's concerned, 12-star matches, which I am going to get back to that Peyton Royce thing in a second. I think it would be great to see. And so, okay, since I just mentioned Peyton Royce and Dave Meltzer, okay, here we go. So Dave Meltzer recently was doing a podcast, and I think the other guy he works with is Brian Alvarez, and he talked about Peyton Royce, and they were kind of talking about how she looks bigger or she was thinner in NXT, which I actually have noticed a lot with people. Once they leave NXT and they go to the main roster, they end up getting a little chunky. Not that they're fat per se, but they're gaining weight in the midsection, and not like not like muscle, but like they're gaining some spare tire. It is what it is. And he mentioned that, and to me, it sounded like normal talk. I think if he would have in context said, I've seen the same thing would happen with Sami Zayn, it's happened with Kevin Owens, it happened with, and name some other people, it probably would have softened the blow overall, and he kind of could have rolled it into people leave NXT and they go to the main roster and then they gain some weight, and it's not a very good look overall, right? And he could have said some names, and it is what it is, no one cares. But I think because he singled her out, it made it look bad, like he was picking on her per se, and he wasn't trying to say that she was ugly, because that's really irrelevant overall. I think it was just a nitpicky comment that really, to me, didn't really sound bad. I mean, I also watch Family Guy every week, so I'm not offended by a lot. I watch Golden Girls. There's a lot of innuendo and stuff that goes on in there. I'm not offended a lot. I watched Nip Tuck. I'm not offended by nudity and by dirty language. I watched Animal Kingdom. There's a lot of foul language in there. I'm not offended by stuff that's supposed to hurt people's feelings and things like that, because it's just, I get it. If it hurts you personally, then it hurts you personally. Me listening to it didn't sound that bad. But I'm also not her. I don't know what her personal struggles are. The internet caught wind of it, and Twitter, and he apologized, and other people have, kind of called him out and stuff like that, and he's owning it. He's like, I shouldn't have said it, yada, yada, yada. I don't, like I said, it didn't sound that bad, but I'm not her, so I can't speak for her and how she should feel, and that's not anywhere what I'm trying to do, because how you feel is how you feel. And if that hurt you, then by all means, you have every right to say that you were hurt by it, and that person can either make amends and apologize, or they can stick with their guns and say, you know what, I didn't say nothing wrong, and screw it, and stick with it, so. But Meltzer, I respect, if that's how he really feels, and he really feels like, I shouldn't have said that, then, and he's apologized for it, then so be it. We're going to move on, and I still think he's an intelligent person to listen to, podcast-wise. He's got a lot of skin in the game as far as, he's a vet. If there's a lot of opinions I'm going to listen to, his is one of them. His, Bill Apter, Jericho, Austin, guys who I've been watching since I was, barely old enough to drive yet, or not old enough to drive yet. So I'm gonna listen to those opinions, because to me they hold weight, because there's so much wrestling that went into those opinions. It's not just like some person who just started watching wrestling 3 years ago and now all of a sudden is an expert. Like, nah, you got to have about 10 plus years or more before I start listening to what you say. And since everyone I'm talking about has been around for a long time, then by all means, I think they can all kind of say whatever they say, because it's going to hold weight, because they're veterans. And that's my take on that. So I literally just realized that I have been reviewing SmackDown from 8/7/2018, not 8/14/2018. Oh, I was so close to being done. Damn it. So anyway, the show opens up with Charlotte, Carmella, and Becky Lynch in the ring, and oh my god, I'm so disappointed in myself. But anyway, so the match was Charlotte and Becky versus Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. Becky and Charlotte win with the armbar from Becky to, I'm so mad at myself, to Mandy Rose. And then they walk off and they're holding hands, and it's really cute. Then we had a throwaway match between Triple Threat, which was some 3-man tag team from the local area, versus the Bludgeon Brothers. That didn't last very long. And then we had one of the greatest promos I've ever seen between Daniel Bryan and The Miz. And it was not a face-to-face, it was just interviews and clips and stuff like that, and it was really, it was so well done. I want to try to find the full-length version of it somewhere online so I can download it and keep it for the future, because it was so well done. It's like 8 years in the making kind of thing, and I know they've already wrestled in a gauntlet match on TV where Miz actually kind of took advantage of a situation. I think they really could have played that up, and he could have paid off the Bludgeon Brothers or something like that, and then who knows? I don't know. Maybe he stops paying them, and then they leave his side, and then Daniel finally gets Miz one-on-one. Something like that. But they didn't do that. So, whatever, it is what it is. Because I remember the Bludgeon Brothers were the ones who beat up Daniel Bryan after, on his way to the ring or something like that. I can't remember what the hell it was. Or maybe after he beat somebody in the gauntlet match, then they came in, beat him up, and then Miz came in and then took advantage of it. Where, they should have kind of run an angle with that one a little bit. Or maybe with Kane. I don't know how they could have done it. But they should have done it, and they did not. So, whatever. It is what it is. Sometimes WWE wastes opportunities that are right in front of them. But there's only so much you can do about it. New Day versus Sanity, not bad. They've changed their final move from Midnight Hour to Up, Up, Down, Down for Xavier Woods, who was actually in a recent Table for Three with Matt Hardy and Zack Ryder, as they all talk about how they used YouTube and the internet to grow their brand and really kind of just blow up. And I think it's a really smart thing to do because it's a free platform. The internet, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, it's all free. It's all free. All they do is steal your data, which is fine. They want to know what you're doing, so they can advertise to you. It's probably like TV too, as far as I know. Who knows? But anyway, now they just have more access to you. But anyway, it is what it is. So yeah, they changed their name to Up, Up, Down, Down, their finisher name, and so it works. It kind of looks like it, so it works. They have a match against the Bludgeon Brothers at SummerSlam. I think you don't want to take the title off the Bludgeon Brothers just yet. I think you want them to have it for a while. They have had it for a while. I don't want to see them mow through New Day like in 5 minutes or something like that. I want to see it roll out to about 12 or 13 minutes or so. And how do I see it ending? I see it just being that the Bludgeon Brothers are just too strong for Kofi, Big E, and Xavier. Even with Xavier on the outside, kind of playing the role of manager, I still think that the Bludgeon Brothers' power should just be so strong that the New Day cannot overcome them. So I know it's August. We have September, October. Is it possible we could see a Hell in a Cell between New Day and Bludgeon Brothers in October? Possibly. But if you do that, then you really can't have the Bludgeon Brothers lose, because then they kind of lose that luster. Unless you're going to break them up, make them go solo, and bring in some other team. Because for a while, SmackDown's tag teams were lacking, because they broke up American Alpha. The Wyatt family broke up. Like, it was just like, we have about 3 teams left. What are we going to do? And then the Hype Bros broke up. So it was just like one team after another. It's like, dude, how many solo acts do you need? Because it's kind of just in my opinion, it's a bad idea. You don't need that many solo acts. So, I don't know. They like I said, they ruin opportunities sometimes, because I think American Alpha probably could have been one of the best physical ability tag teams we've ever seen in a long time, or ever, as far as I'm concerned. We had a lot of backstage segments. We've had Samoa Joe backstage with Paige. We had Becky and Charlotte backstage earlier in the event, and then we also had Aiden English wrestle Andrade Cien Almas, and Aiden, of course, lost. And now we have a mixed tag team match at SummerSlam between Almas and Vega versus Rusev and Lana. And then here's the part of the show where Randy Orton was peering out at the end of a Jeff Hardy-Shelton Benjamin match, peering out, watching Jeff Hardy like a viper would. Before it strikes, it's going to watch you. It sees your every move. It's kind of sensing with its tongue. That's kind of how it smells. It's sensing what's happening. It's sensing the surroundings and the environment, and then eventually it will strike, because that's what a viper does. That's what a snake does. And that's Randy Orton's character, and I like it, and it's working. So Jeff Hardy beat Shelton Benjamin, and then after the match we see Randy Orton kind of sitting there chilling, and it works. It totally works. But then after the match, Shinsuke Nakamura attacked Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy hit him with the that upside down topsy-turvy thing, and then hit him with the thing from the top rope. The other thing, whatever the hell they're called. I'm totally losing my mind right now. And then they end the show with AJ and Samoa Joe out there talking. Guys who are friends in real life are enemies on TV. And I love it, because I think since they are actually good friends, and they've been in TNA, they were in TNA together, I think it gives them a shot to talk privately and use their relationship as a way to further the storyline. Like AJ talking about his daughter and the women's evolution match, pay-per-view, and AJ talking about, your family secretly wants me to win so you can be home more often with your family. Like, damn. That might be real. Their family might really want him to lose, so he's on the road less. Something like that. Who knows? I actually thought we'd see less of the Miz since he had a daughter. I thought we'd see less of him for a while, but we kind of haven't. It's kind of been all together. So props. I mean, if you can be a husband, a father, and a professional wrestler and an actor all at the same time, then by all means, do your thing. But I like how they're using Samoa Joe's and AJ Styles' real-life relationship in this story. All right, so here are the predictions I have for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4. We have Velveteen Dream and EC3. I see EC3 walking away victorious in this one, and I see Velveteen Dream coming up to the main roster in the next few months. I don't think they should make them wait after every major event. I think there could be a TV rematch and EC3 beats him again, and Velveteen Dream doesn't need to have maybe they could have a get out of NXT match, some kind of stipulation or something like that, where loser leaves NXT or something like that, like they did with Gargano and Ciampa. They did have that, didn't they? So maybe you don't want to have that necessarily so soon again, but I like the way Bobby Roode left NXT. He told someone, go get my stuff, I'm out of here. When he lost to, who was it? I forget who he lost to, but whoever, I think it was Drew or Shinsuke, or I forget. But either way, there's got to be a way to give Velveteen Dream his send-off. He's been there for a while. I don't see him becoming champion. I see Adam Cole, Ricochet, Ciampa, Gargano, or maybe Aleister Black becoming champion again, or Roderick Strong. I mean, in all honesty, I think all of these guys, like the Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, Ricochet, Tyler Bate, Trent Seven, Ciampa, and Gargano, I think they're all ready for the main roster. Pete Dunne, I think they're all main roster ready, but obviously you don't want to just get rid of people, because then you deplete your entire roster. So I know they just added Keith Lee. Ricochet's only been there a couple months. He's already wrestled Velveteen Dream. Velveteen Dream is now going up against EC3. Velveteen Dream also went up against... Velveteen Dream's been there since he was the Patrick Clark Experience. And before that, he was just Patrick Clark. And he was fighting Shinsuke Nakamura. So he's been there for a while. So I don't see him being there much longer. I don't think he needs to be there much longer. I think he'll probably end up on SmackDown. I think they could use some more talent. I'd like to see him against a Ty Dillinger. Maybe an R-Truth. Kind of start him off, it's essentially. And then maybe at some point have him go up against Andrade Cien Almas, because I think the two of them would put on a really good match if they let them go the way that they could in NXT. I know they wrestle less in NXT, but Velveteen Dream, I see him walking away with a loss here and then moving up to the main roster before Survivor Series. We also have the Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong versus Mustache Mountain, Tyler Bate and Trent Seven. This is another one that's a little interesting for me, because the tag teams are not deep. They have these two tag teams. They have They have the Mighty. They have Street Profits. I'd like to see Riddick Moss and Tino Sabatelli come back, but I think both of them are injured, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to add them as a tag team because they were a tag team anyway. And they have like one or two other tag teams, people I cannot remember off the top of my head. Oh, God. Heavy Machinery, and they have War Raiders. So I think it'd be great to see War Raiders at some point. I think the NXT could do without the entire Undisputed Era for now. Adam Cole has not been there very long. Neither have O'Reilly and Fish, or Roderick Strong for that matter. So they might come up maybe around Royal Rumble time again, maybe right before WrestleMania or right after WrestleMania. Because, like I said, they're really popular, so you don't want to just get rid of that really fast, because you don't have anything taking over that heel popularity. But anyway, so who do I see walking away with this one? I see Undisputed Era keeping this, and I see eventually Bobby Fish maybe turning on Roderick Strong, or Roderick Strong turning on the group, or something like that. I see some kind of dissension between the group, and I think that would be great, because that'll lead to some really great one-on-one matches, like Roderick versus Kyle, Roderick versus Bobby, and maybe eventually Roderick becomes a North American champion, because I don't think Ricochet will walk away the champion. And if he does walk away the champion, he's going to lose it back to Adam Cole again, and then maybe Roderick will be the guy who takes it in like a number one contender match or something like that, and it becomes like a Sting versus Flair Horseman breakup thing. Like, all right, we want you out of the group since you took this match. And Roderick will be like, no way, I got a wife and kid, and I gotta make my thing happen. And then they beat him up, and then he ends up wrestling for the North American Championship at like the next TakeOver, which would be, who knows if they do one in October or in December or whatever. So yeah, I think that could be a possible story. So I see Undisputed Era walking away with that, and that's where that will go after that. Adam Cole Ricochet, like I said, Adam Cole I think should walk away with this one, or if Ricochet does, he should lose it back to Adam Cole in a few weeks or so before the next TakeOver, and then they can have like a rubber match at the next TakeOver, which would happen in a couple months. I think that's probably like around Survivor Series, if I'm not mistaken. It'll be NXT War Games 2, which will be taking place in... They haven't said yet. Alrighty, so we don't know. So, but it probably will be around Survivor Series time, as far as I understand that. So yeah, that's what I see happening as far as Ricochet walking away with the champion, possibly. But I think it probably should be Adam Cole, who at least has it until War Games 2, and then maybe they could have a rubber match like in a steel cage or 2 out of 3 falls. That'd be great. That would actually be really good if the two of them had a 2 out of 3 falls match. Funny thing I just noticed is that, well, I didn't just notice this, but a lot of times since I play WWE 2K18 and stuff, storylines I create, like in my head, actually happen in real life, or matches that happen. It's really funny. Like, I had Adam Cole and Ricochet wrestle a couple times, like a couple months ago, and here they are wrestling for real. And it's just like, oh, that was fast, or Money in the Bank championships contracts on the line, like with Braun and Kevin Owens. And I just had my SummerSlam where that was actually that was on the line before Kevin Owens and Braun had their thing going on. So it's almost like my mind actually does work with WWE, and I actually probably could write some scripts. You guys should call me. Anyway, moving forward, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. Actually, I'll do that one last. Pete Dunne and Zach Gibson in the UK Championship match. It's a pre-show. I don't know how they do that. It says indicates the match was taped for broadcast on a future episode of NXT. Okay, so Pete Dunne and Zach Gibson have actually already wrestled. I have not heard of anything about Zach Gibson being the new UK champion. I hope I don't ever hear anything like that, or Pete Dunne won. Don't give stuff away, guys. I think people should just leave shit alone. I know WWE gave away the Tommaso Ciampa beating Aleister Black championship match. They gave it away like days in advance, and I thought that's stupid. I mean, I still watched it, but I didn't watch it as intently because I already knew who won. The ending of it was kind of cool because Johnny Gargano messed it up. But it's kind of interesting how Alistair is now injured and doesn't have a championship. And it's good that he doesn't have the championship because he's injured. So how would they have had that match if he wasn't injured? You just give it to the number 1 and number 2 contender, Johnny and Tommaso? Like, probably what would have had to happen. But anyway, so Pete Dunne versus Zach Gibson. I see Pete Dunne walking away with this one. I don't see Zach Gibson as being a guy who's there just yet. But maybe eventually. Maybe if it were Jordan Devlin or something like that, one of those other bigger names, then it would be really cool to watch. Oh, the other tag team is really cool. Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan. I love seeing them. I think they could be tag team champions at some point. They'll probably end up on SmackDown, and I'd love to just see them European uppercut every single person on the entire roster. Matter of fact, that's who should take away the championships from the Bludgeon Brothers. It should not be the New Day. It should not be the Usos. It should not be anyone who's on the roster currently. I would move up Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan and just have them run amok for a month and then beat the Bludgeon Brothers and be the new team that people have to try to overcome. They're just, I don't know, you call them the 1-2 punch because, Oney Lorcan used to walk out to the ring with the 1 up, and then when he tagged with Danny Burch would walk out with the 2 up. So I love the way that looks, and you call it 1-2 punch. Or maybe 1 and 2 equals 12, and that's 12 gauge. Shotgun blast, something like that. Something, or 1-2 to the chest. Who knows? Whatever it is, you give them some kind of cool name. I know I did the name thing earlier about Eminem and the Basham Brothers and Los Guerreros, but that would be actually kind of a cool idea because I think they're a really good tag team. They're really, really good individually, and I think they're really solid as a tag team as well. Shayna Baszler and Kairi Sane. Do you want to move Baszler up so fast? What do you want to do? I don't think moving Baszler up right now would be a good idea because I don't think you have another strong heel female just yet. You have Vanessa Bourne, you have Aaliyah, you have God, I don't know. I think if anything, you don't do it until after the Mae Young Classic. Maybe this match ends in some kind of disqualification, draw, double countout, double disqualification, something like that, where you don't have some. You don't need to have a final answer, in my opinion. You don't need to have a final answer right now because you have 2 major women's events coming up: the Mae Young Classic tournament, Part 2, and you also have the Women's Evolution thing coming up, which I think, if anything, I think that NXT Championship, the Women's Championship, should be on the line at that show, in addition to the Raw Championship and the SmackDown Championship. However you want to do it, you do it however you want to do it. I'm sure I'll probably give some predictions as how that should play out as well, but I want to see who's in the Mae Young Classic first before I start doing predictions for Evolution, because people get injured and stuff like that, so it is what it is. But it would be nice to see some rollover from NXT to the Mae Young to Women's Evolution, and then eventually to the TV show, which would be great as well. But yeah, I see this not really having a definitive winner. I see it just maybe they both beat up the referee like people did back in the day, so that they can't be contained. And then maybe at some point, maybe they'll have a steel cage match or something kind of a War Games match, or I don't know, something. I think it'd be great. I think it would absolutely be great, and I'd love to watch that again, because I think they've wrestled now 3 times. Kairi Sane won the Mae Young Classic last year. Then Shayna beat her on TV, and now this is like their 3rd match. So it'll be an interesting watch. They have different styles. I would have loved to see Kairi versus Ember, or Kairi versus Asuka more, or Shayna versus maybe a Nikki Cross. She already did wrestle Nikki Cross, who should be on SmackDown now, by the way, as far as I'm concerned. Don't need to write her off, just need to let her go. But anyway, so yeah, I think that's kind of how that should play out. So we have some other kind of stipulation match in a couple months or in a few weeks as a rematch. And yeah, let it be that. Let it be like I don't want to say a last woman standing, but maybe like a table match on TV. And it'll be your main event, like a final 25, 30 minutes. You let it be a tables match or something like that, or maybe even a flaming table match if you really want to go old school. The winner has to put the other person through a table. I think that'd be a good one. Or a TLC match, just solo. Like, let us see these things that are typically held for pay-per-views and stuff like that. Let us see them on TV a little more. Let us see an Extreme Rules match between two women. That'd be great. I'd love to see that. Holy cow. I would love to see a TV Extreme Rules match between two women for a championship. Oh my God. And I'm not even that big of a fan of the current product. So imagine what it would be for people who love watching Raw every week and go to shows and buy merchandise and all that kind of stuff. God, that would be amazing. Could you imagine, let's say Charlotte wins this weekend and Becky and Charlotte, start having a rivalry, and maybe at Hell in a Cell or something like that, they have an Extreme Rules match, but on TV, or maybe before that, they have an Extreme Rules match on TV or something like that. Remember the match Charlotte had with Sasha Banks a couple years ago on TV? My goodness. The Falls Count Anywhere? That'd be great. We need more stuff like that for the women. If this is the evolution, then let them evolve into having more matches like the guys have. It doesn't need to be as often. It doesn't need to, it doesn't need to be gimmicked or just forced on people. Let it actually happen naturally. But I think it needs to happen. I think it absolutely needs to happen, and that would be great. Now, speaking of things that need to happen, the final match for NXT Brooklyn 4, and then I'm going to get into the Survivor SummerSlam predictions, is Tommaso Ciampa, the champion, versus Johnny Gargano, the contender. All right. I think, walking away, this should end up... God, this is a hard pick. This is really hard because neither one of them are going to go up to the main roster right now. That would be a really bad time, I think, because you have the Undisputed Era, you have these guys. I think these are hot feuds right now, hot people, hot teams, and you don't want to just kind of like, we're going to move them up and kind of see what happens, because they lose a lot of momentum, and it really sucks because you don't really get it back. But I think what should happen is maybe Tommaso should keep it. He just won it. Tommaso should keep it. And I think that's probably how you eventually transition Johnny out of NXT and into Raw. And maybe Candice will follow as well. Or maybe they'll kick her out and be like, you beat up Aleister Black and you ruined our Brooklyn 4 match. You can't be here anymore. You need to go. And if they kick her out, Johnny will be like, hey, if she goes, I go. And William Regal will be like, I understand. I don't want to see you go, but if you have to go, then so be it. And Tommaso Ciampa will be in the background waving goodbye or something like that, which would be kind of cool. And then eventually Ciampa will lose it because he'll have to move up too. And he'll be either... I think he should go to the opposite brand. Whatever Johnny goes to, Tommaso should go to the opposite one. And the only time they should meet for the next time would either be at Survivor Series, if they were to both move up before that, which I doubt and I wouldn't suggest. Or they meet in the Royal Rumble the way Roderick Strong and Daniel Bryan did, which was fucking beautiful. It was so beautiful. Oh my God. That was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Or was that the Greatest Royal Rumble? I forget which one that was. I forget. But anyway, yeah, so I think that's kind of how they should do it. Tommaso Ciampa should walk away the victor. Candice LeRae gets kicked out for maybe being the one who beat up Aleister Black and knocked him out with like a kick or something like that, or a chair or whatever. And then Johnny leaves with her, and then maybe they kind of present themselves, and it might be kind of funny a little bit, to Raw and SmackDown and kind of see, okay, who should take us? Who wants us, kind of thing. And we'll see what happens from there. Like I said, I don't know what they're going to do with the Women's Evolution and an actual TV show for that. But if they do something, then obviously Candice would end up there at some point. All right, and now the 13 match SummerSlam predictions. Holy cow, this is insane. Okay, we have pre-show stuff. We have the B team, Bo Dallas, Curtis Axel versus the Revival, Dash Wilder, and Scott Dawson. I'm going to go a little bit faster now. I think the Revival should walk away the winners of this one and eventually wrestle the Authors of Pain in the next month or so. They will have to go through the B team again, and then they will have to go through the Leader of Worlds, and then they will have a rubber triple threat match and win. and then get attacked afterwards by the Authors of Pain as they jump the barricade and hoods and stuff like that. And maybe the Authors of Pain will actually bring back Paul Ellering or someone, maybe even Paul Heyman. Oh my God. Paul Heyman should have a stable. Braun Strowman, the Authors of Pain, and maybe Ronda Rousey. And he kind of just like, this is the Heyman's henchman. I don't know, something stupid. But yeah, I kind of think that should happen. Ooh, that'd be nice. That'd be really nice. Because I actually had Heyman managing Asuka for a while. And then eventually managing Kurt Angle, who was the world champion. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Next match. Rusev and Lana versus Andrade Cien Almas and Zelina Vega, mixed tag match. I see Aiden English ruining this again, and Rusev and Lana losing, and then Rusev and Aiden English now having a feud in the future, which Rusev will win, and Aiden English will go back to wrestling guys like R-Truth and Ty Dillinger, because Ty actually needs to be on TV a lot more. That guy has great ability. I'm also going to do the other pre-show match here, which is Cedric Alexander versus Drew Gulak. I think you could give it to Drew in this one for the Cruiserweight Championship. If you give it to Drew in this one, I think you let him hold it until, I don't know who could possibly take it off of him other than Mustafa Ali. And then maybe Cedric will say, I gave you a shot, you give me a shot, and it ends up being a triple threat at WrestleMania next year between the three of them. Drew Gulak, Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali, and Mustafa will walk away the victor. Or if he loses, Cedric walks away the victor, and then Mustafa turns on Cedric, and then that starts another feud. That's months on the line, but hey, you got a long-term plan for this. So that means in the meantime, Drew Gulak can go through Lucha House Party, go through Kalisto one-on-one. You can go through, who's the other one? Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado one-on-ones. You can have a match, every month. Those are three guys, but you can have, a championship match that leads us into November, and then maybe he splits from his team in the meantime. Kind of like The Miz and the Miztourage, and Jack Gallagher and Brian Kendrick will split from him, and they won't be number one contenders, but maybe Drew Gulak can wrestle. Oh, maybe even Buddy Murphy gets into the picture. So who knows how that WrestleMania match for the Cruiserweight Championship will be next year. So I'd love to see Buddy, Cedric, Drew, and Mustafa in a fatal four-way. Holy cow, that would probably be on the level of Neville and Austin Aries as far as I'm concerned. That'd be really good to watch. But I see Drew could walk away with the championship here and Cedric not get it back yet for a while, and probably start feuding with Leo Rush and things like that. All right. Main card. I don't know exactly what order this is going to be in, so I'm going to read it in the order I think it should probably end up being in. Balor versus Corbin. I see Balor walking away the winner. And there's nothing on the line here other than just pride. Maybe it should be for the constableship, but that is not an option. So we are moving on to the next match, which I think will probably end up being Carmella, the champion, versus Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair for the Women's SmackDown Championship. I see, like I said, Charlotte Flair winning, Becky Lynch turning on her, and then them having their feud for a little while, and then Women's Evolution will actually reveal maybe more to the story, or you add more women and then you give them their own show. God, oh man, it would be amazing if they did that. It really, really, in my opinion, really would be. Other matches, we have Alexa Bliss and Ronda Rousey. I kind of want to see Ronda walk away with the championship. She's only wrestled on TV like 4 or 5 times. She's wrestled Alicia Keys. Alicia Fox, I'm sorry. Holy cow. She's wrestled Alicia Fox. She's wrestled, obviously, Kurt and Triple H and Stephanie at WrestleMania. She wrestled Nia Jax at Money in the Bank. And there may have been one other match, but I can't think of it at the moment. I know she's been doing a movie and probably doing a tour for promotion and stuff like that, but I can't think of anything else she's done other than those 3 matches. So is it possible that you give it to her now? You could. If Alexa wins, she's going to walk away with the victory because she cheated, or Alicia Fox cheated or something like that. Or Ronda loses because of cheating and Ember Moon gets the next shot because, you know, she basically beat Alexa on Monday. So, if not Rousey, then it'll be Ember Moon getting the next shot and probably Ember Moon being the next champion by September, October, somewhere in there, which would actually happen at Evolution. So that's the perfect time, in my opinion, to have that title change at Evolution, because I think Ember Moon is absolutely the epitome of the women's evolution as far as her ability. She's not, like I said, she's not a talker, which doesn't really matter to me because I don't really remember any women other than Sensational Sherry being great talkers. So it like just in-ring ability, fucking, that's, man, Ember Moon is it. Ember, Charlotte, and Asuka are my top 3. Oh, and Sasha are my top 4 for women's ability, and just great wrestlers. Moving on, we have Dolph Ziggler with Drew McIntyre for the Intercontinental Championship against Seth Rollins, the challenger, with Dean Ambrose in his corner. I see Seth walking away the champion with this one, and them having a rubber match over the next couple of weeks. Where Ziggler invokes his rematch clause or whatever. And I wouldn't give it away too soon. I would actually have a couple of tag team matches, maybe Seth and Dean versus Dolph and Drew, and then maybe by early mid-September they have a rematch, just the 2 of them, of course, with people in their corner. And then maybe that's when you can have Dean turn on Seth and start harassing the shit out of him and not actually getting title shots just yet. But I think that would be a really good maneuver. Kind of give it some time to breathe, and then you let people, start having their feuds and start breaking up and stuff like that. Same thing with Drew and Dolph, maybe at some point. The 2 of them, maybe even Dean and Drew, kind of like actually start to tag together and kind of, the D&D connection, do not disturb or something like that. I don't know, whatever you call them. That kind of sounds forced, but it is what it is. Other matches: Shinsuke Nakamura, U.S. champion, versus Jeff Hardy, the contender. I see Shinsuke walking away the champion with this one. Or if Hardy does it, then I see Randy Orton coming in and RKOing the both of them, or at least Jeff Hardy, and then turning this into a triple threat at the next pay-per-view, whenever that will be. So I don't really have a prediction per se for this, but I'm predicting what will happen depending on who wins. If Nakamura wins, I see Randy Orton RKOing him. If Hardy wins, I see Randy Orton RKOing him, and kind of just putting himself in the face of the other 2. We have Braun Strowman, the Money in the Bank holder, versus Kevin Owens, who wants to have that Money in the Bank contract. So that is what is on the line. Kevin Owens, if he wins, he will then have the Money in the Bank contract, and he will be able to cash in whenever he wants. If Braun Strowman wins, then he keeps his Money in the Bank contract. I think Braun should keep it. He should win. And that is how you will end the show, with Braun Strowman coming in, cashing in, and beating the shit out of whoever wins the final match between Roman and Lesnar. And I'll talk about that in a minute. SmackDown Tag Team Championship. The New Day won the tournament, which featured Sanity. New Day beat them, and Cesaro and Sheamus lost to the Usos, and then Cesaro and Sheamus lost to the New Day. I believe it was last week, and the New Day won the final berth into the match for the Bludgeon Brothers for the SmackDown Championship. And I believe the Bludgeon Brothers, like I said, should walk away the champions with this one. And then on top of that, they actually don't lose it until like October, November, when maybe Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch can move up, the 1-2 punch, and actually beat the Bludgeon Brothers. And it can just like be a knockout, drag-out fight. It could be an Extreme Rules type fight or something like that, something Hell in a Cell. Because I think that would just be absolutely amazing. I think that would be the only team that could actually match them power for power from that roster. That's not, I think the Authors of Pain obviously could, but other than that, I don't see any other team that would be able to match them power for power and size for size, because those 2 guys are just awesome to look at. What else am I missing here? Daniel Bryan and The Miz. I don't know how they're going to work this. I don't know if they're going to keep it for a while or there's just going to be a one-off and that's it, because I know Daniel Bryan's contract is running out soon. So if it's just a one-off, then Bryan wins. If it's going to be a thing for a while, I see maybe Miz walking away the victor in the first one, and eventually it gets to like some kind of Iron Man match or something like that as like the main blow-off, and then maybe at some point Miz becomes WWE champion, which would be great for the TV show he has, Miz and Mrs. I think that'd be so smart, because then you have the champion on TV literally every week after SmackDown, and then on top of that, Daniel Bryan could win the Royal Rumble, and then you really have your blow-off match, and maybe like a couple matches after that, and of course some house shows and stuff like that as they go on tour. But eventually 2K20 will have Daniel Bryan on the cover of the WWE video game, because Miz will either end up beating AJ Styles at some point, or something will happen. I don't know. I don't know if AJ will get away clean from Samoa Joe, but I think at some point the Miz should win, and he should just be talking hella shit, and it'll be after the Daniel Bryan Miz feud is over, which Daniel will have won, but barely. And then they'll turn it into a thing at Royal Rumble at some point, and we'll all be happy as clams in a bucket, or however the saying goes. So yeah, AJ versus Samoa Joe, that's a hard one to pick, but if eventually Miz is going to beat AJ, then I don't think Samoa Joe, I don't want to see like two titles doing the same thing during the same amount of time, where one person wins it and then loses it back a couple months later or within a few weeks later. I actually want to see someone hold the championship for a while. So I'm actually okay to see AJ hang on to this championship for a while. I think in the meantime he could go up against Aiden English again, or for the first time or whatever, he could wrestle a few people. I know that's like, what is this, September, October, November, December. I think he should lose it so basically he'll have 4 more main matches as far as network specials. So he's got to go up against 4 people. Shelton Benjamin could be it. You can't do Shinsuke again unless you want to do title for title, and then just have it end up as a draw and just leave it alone. But you kind of have not a throwaway per se, but just something to hold people over until the Miz can do it. And then I don't know, maybe he wrestles the Miz on TV, and then they get a rematch at Royal Rumble next year, and the Miz will beat AJ Styles, and he'll beat him in a rematch, and then Daniel Bryan wins the Royal Rumble, and then there's your WrestleMania main event right there, Miz versus Daniel Bryan. That would be great, in my opinion. You know what else would be great? Braun Strowman cashing in his Money in the Bank with Paul Heyman to beat Roman Reigns after Roman Reigns beats Brock Lesnar. I think that would be absolutely amazing. Or what you do is you turn the SummerSlam one-on-one between Brock and Roman into an immediate triple threat. And you say, before you ring the bell, just want to say one thing. And then you let Monster of the Bank cash in, not on some sneaky shit, but on some I'm willing to face you head up, because he wrestled Brock last year and lost, and then he wrestled Roman a bunch, and that was a great rivalry. That was probably my favorite WWE rivalry last year, especially that whole chair throwing thing. Oh my god, it was beautiful. And the truck, oh my god. They've been building this guy up they've been doing such a great job of it too, and we're buying it. We're totally buying it. So I think that Braun should cash in before the match begins, and that will make it a triple threat, and that will finish it off, and Braun will walk away the champion. And Heyman can keep reminding Roman, I told you it could have been me in your corner instead of me helping out Braun, essentially, or whatever. So I think that's the way you end it. You have Braun walking away the champion, you have Seth the champion, you have Drew Gulak the champion, you have the Bludgeon Brothers remaining champion, you have the Revivals becoming champion, and you have Charlotte becoming champion, and maybe Ronda Rousey as well, but maybe not. I don't know. There's so many things that can happen. I'm sure a lot of things I've said that are going to happen are not going to happen, and things I never even remotely thought about will actually happen, because it is WWE, and as fun as I want to make it, they're not going to make it fun. They're going to make it marketable, because that's what's most important. Not what I think, but what makes their bottom line. Bling, bling. And I want to thank you for joining me on this long-ass podcast on the KJ from LC podcast, as I now have to edit all this audio and not go out on a Friday night, because I'm 40 and I'm busy. And God bless you for joining me. Catch me on Twitter and Instagram, KJ from OC, and on Facebook and YouTube, KJ from OC Podcast. And we'll see you next week with the review of SummerSlam and Brooklyn 4 thing. Alright? So tired. I'm out. Peace.